I get a lot of questions in my practice about myofascial release or rolling. And there are so many options out there now of spiky balls, soft balls, foam rollers, water bottles, a ton of things that we can use out there on our body to release myofascial spots. And there's also a lot of polarizing information about there, whether it's good or not good to roll out your body. So I would love to offer my take on things. My favorite way to roll out the body is actually a lacrosse ball. So lacrosse balls are usually about $2, and I think that that's a pretty accessible point for most people. I like the density of the lacrosse ball because it has a little bit of give, but it's got enough density that it's gonna push back into the tissue, unlike an old tennis ball, which is actually just gonna cave under when you roll on top of it. So a lacrosse ball is my favorite thing to use, and there is a time and a place for a foam roller, but in terms of accessibility, it takes up a lot more space, it usually costs more, and I think we can get almost everything done with a lacrosse ball. But let's just talk about some of the benefits of a foam roller. A foam roller you can use to roll on. So sometimes it's nice to kind of roll up and down on your back and to release any adhesions or stuck vertebrae. It's also nice to lie on your side and have something to roll on that moves underneath you with a nice solid base and your body can move on top of with ease. The ball is a little bit harder to keep underneath you. It sometimes tends to pop out. And the foam roller can also be used to put behind your spine vertically. So aligned right behind your spine, lying on top of it from your head to the base of your spine with your arms open. And that's a nice place to stay to release your chest and open the muscles that tend to get tight in front from our computer work, technology, driving in the car. All of this tends to get tight. So to lie on this with your arms open is a nice thing to do at the end of the day. You don't need to be injured to do myofascial release. You would not be human if you walked around with a perfect body and everything in balance. It just, sleeping, walking, answering your phone, all of this puts different pull on the ligaments and muscles. And so I haven't encountered one human in my practice in 15 years that hasn't had something for me to work on. So when you start exploring with the ball, you're gonna find the areas that are hidden to you that are causing problems that maybe aren't symptomatic yet. There's no specific place to start, but certainly starting with your foot or your glute where there's a lot of tissue and a lot of soft tissue that you can press into, and there's generally some tender spots in there, so you can start to feel what the difference is between a tissue that feels okay, and you'll just feel the mechanical pressure of the ball versus a tissue that elicits a bit of sensitivity or pain when you're rolling in it, and then you're finding out about what's going on in that tissue. You can hurt yourself rolling on a ball, but we're talking about the general type of injury that a bruise would bring about. So not any instability or long-term damage, but we certainly aren't looking to break blood vessels and bruise an area. And that's why we like to avoid bone or anything that is so painful that it takes your breath away. The difference between these vibrational tools that we're seeing so much of these days and rolling on a ball is that the tools are specifically designed at a certain vibration to create a mechanical change in the tissue. Vibration also brings a lot of blood flow into the area, and the machines are good if used properly, and again, avoiding areas of bone where you could cause any type of hemorrhaging, and also just being careful around vibration and the bones of your head and your face, as vibration can make us sometimes nauseous or have a headache. They're also expensive, so I do think that they're great. I have 2 of them that I use in my practice and at home. The ball, I feel, is more gentle, more specific, and obviously more accessible to most of us. We have a lot we can do with this little ball. First of all, the size is such that you can access very specific points in your body. I'm gonna be offering all sorts of videos on different areas of the body and exactly how to roll them out. What I would love to do here is just talk about some general principles of practice. The ball is hard, especially if you're using a lacrosse ball. So we don't want to cause any bruising or any damage to the tissue that is excessive. So we're not really looking to roll over hard spots like bone. There's not generally a lot of fat tissue or muscle on top of some areas of bone. So we're going to avoid bone. You want to go into areas where there is muscle and you can feel the ball go in and find a little tender spot and then start to breathe around it. So instead of just continuing to roll in an area, roll as a screening tool to find one specific spot and then take a nice couple deep breaths into that spot until you feel it start to release. So what we're doing is two things: mechanically releasing that spot, changing the tissue mechanically, but then we're also activating the parasympathetic nervous system around the reaction to that spot, which could be a trigger point, which is an activated nerve into the muscle. I hope this gives you some valuable information on what are some of the options to release your tissue. Again, my favorite, and I'm biased, is the lacrosse ball. I will have very specific videos detailing each part of the body and different anatomical locations where we can use the ball to create great change. So stay tuned.